What if I told you that in 1934, powerful American businessmen allegedly plotted to overthrow the President of the United States? Not in a movie, not in a conspiracy forum, but in real life. This is the story of what became known as the business plot, an alleged secret plan to remove Franklin D. Roosevelt from office and replace him with a dictator. And the most shocking part? The man who exposed it was a decorated American war hero. To understand the business plot, we have to go back to the early 1930s. America was in the grip of the Great Depression. Banks had collapsed. Businesses failed. Unemployment soared to nearly 25%. In 1932, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected president, promising a bold recovery plan called the New Deal. The New Deal expanded federal power in ways America had never seen before. It created jobs programs, regulated banks, and introduced social safety nets. To millions of struggling Americans, FDR was a savior. But to some wealthy industrialists and financiers, he was something else entirely. A threat. They believed Roosevelt's policies were steering the country toward socialism, or worse. And in 1934, one man stepped forward with a stunning claim. That man was Smedley Butler. Butler wasn't just any officer. He was one of the most decorated Marines in U.S. history, a two-time Medal of Honor recipient, a war hero with immense credibility. In 1934, Butler testified before Congress that a group of wealthy businessmen had approached him with a plan. Their proposal? They wanted Butler to lead a force of 500,000 veterans in a march on Washington. The goal wasn't to assassinate Roosevelt. It was something more subtle and arguably more dangerous. They wanted to install Butler as a kind of Secretary of General Affairs, effectively a dictator, while Roosevelt remained as a powerless figurehead. In other words, a corporate-backed coup. According to Butler, the key recruiter was a bond salesman named Gerald C. McGuire. McGuire allegedly told Butler that many wealthy elites were alarmed by Roosevelt's policies. They feared higher taxes, increased regulation, and the empowerment of labor unions. Butler claimed McGuire even studied fascist movements in Europe, including those under Benito Mussolini, to understand how veterans' organizations could be used to support authoritarian regimes. The model, Butler said, was simple. Create a powerful veterans organization. Claim Roosevelt was physically overwhelmed by his duties. Offer a strong man to take over executive decisions. Maintain the illusion of democracy. It would look constitutional, but real power would shift behind the scenes. In November 1934, Butler testified before the United States House of Representatives, specifically the McCormick-Dickstein Committee, an early precursor to the House Un-American Activities Committee. The committee investigated his claims. They interviewed witnesses. They questioned McGuire. McGuire denied the allegations. And here's where things get murky. The committee's final report stated that, while there was no proof of an active coup attempt in motion, evidence suggested that discussions of such a scheme had indeed occurred. In other words, they couldn't prove it was fully operational, but they didn't dismiss it either. No one was prosecuted. No major businessman was charged. The story faded from headlines. So why didn't this explode into the scandal of the century? Several theories exist. Some historians argue that Butler may have exaggerated parts of the story. Others suggest that prosecutors avoided indictments to prevent panic during an already fragile economic recovery. And some believe powerful interests simply protected their own. The alleged backers included men tied to major financial institutions, though the committee avoided publicly naming or charging most of them. In an era when fascism was rising globally and democratic systems seemed fragile, the idea of wealthy elites considering authoritarian alternatives wasn't as far-fetched as it might sound today. To this day, historians debate the business plot. Was it a serious, near-miss coup attempt, loose talk by disgruntled businessmen, or an inflated story that gained momentum during tense political times? What makes it powerful isn't just whether it succeeded. It's that a decorated general believed it was real enough to testify under oath, and Congress believed it was serious enough to investigate. The business plot remains one of the most unsettling what-ifs in American history. At the height of economic collapse, when democracy felt uncertain, powerful forces may have considered replacing an elected president with a strongman. It didn't happen. But it reminds us of something important. Democracies don't just fall from foreign invasion. Sometimes, the greatest threats come from within. If you enjoyed these hidden chapters of American history, subscribe for more. Because history isn't just about what happened, it's about what almost did.